Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, found himself in a peculiar predicament. The man who once dazzled the world with his charismatic performances and unforgettable hits was now struggling to escape the confines of his own making. In a shocking twist, the very success that catapulted him to fame also became his prison. Elvis was trapped in a cycle of extravagant spending, forced movie roles, and spiritual exploration that left him feeling lost and unfulfilled. As the 1960s progressed, Elvis's movie career began to fade. His latest project, Clambake, was a flop, much to his chagrin. The pressure to deliver was mounting, but Elvis didn't want to return to the studio to make another forgettable film like Clambake. Instead, he fled to Nashville to record a spiritual album, a temporary escape from the Hollywood grind. This album, How Great Thou Art, became a steady seller, but it couldn't mask the decline of his movie soundtracks like the forgettable Easy Come, Easy Go. Priscilla, Elvis's wife, noticed her husband's growing despondency. The weight of his responsibilities and the pressure to constantly produce was taking a toll. Elvis's refusal to film Clambake in California and his hasty trips to Nashville to record showed his desperation to break free from the Hollywood machine. Meanwhile, the Colonel, Elvis's manager, was alarmed by the king's drift. He believed Elvis was straying from his true purpose, making money with profitable movies. The Colonel saw the decline of Elvis's film popularity and took drastic measures. He fired some of Elvis's crew members, stopped Elvis's involvement with esoteric philosophies, and forbade him from spending time alone with Larry Geller, a close friend and spiritual advisor. The Colonel's actions created tension among Elvis's team. Geller, who had been a source of comfort and support for Elvis, was pushed away, leaving the king feeling isolated. Despite the Colonel's increased control and promises of profit sharing, Elvis still trusted him. Elvis admired the Colonel's ability to navigate Hollywood's treacherous waters without compromising his own integrity. On May 1, 1967, just 3 days after finishing Clambake, Elvis and Priscilla tied the knot in a hasty, secret Las Vegas wedding orchestrated by the Colonel. The ceremony left both Elvis and Priscilla bewildered, and there was tension among the crew about the rushed union. The newlyweds skipped a proper honeymoon and returned to Graceland, where they hosted a reception for friends a month later. As Elvis settled into married life, he and Priscilla bought a secluded Los Angeles home, hoping for a simpler life away from the chaos of the ranch. But the seeds of Elvis's spiritual search were already sown, and he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to life than the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. In a shocking move, Priscilla persuaded Elvis to burn his books, but he couldn't resist the allure of his spiritual pursuits. 5 years later, in 1972, Larry Geller returned to Elvis's inner circle, and the king was once again drawn to his mystical teachings. Elvis saw himself as a modern-day Christ, carrying a sacred message of love through his music. Though he struggled to reconcile his spiritual quest with his public persona, he felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. As Elvis's career hit a new low, with movie profits dwindling and record sales struggling, it became clear that a change was needed. The Comeback Special, a television event designed to revive Elvis's career, was on the horizon. But for now, Elvis was left to navigate the complexities of his own making, searching for a way to reconcile his art, his spirituality, and his true self. In the late 1960s, Elvis felt the need for a change. He had been making movies and recording songs that didn't feel right to him. The music scene was shifting, with new artists like John Lennon and Paul McCartney taking the lead. They wanted to keep control of their songs, something Elvis couldn't do because of his old contract. This made it hard for Elvis to record new and exciting music. Elvis loved to sing and reinterpret songs in his unique way. He enjoyed the feel of harmonizing, especially with gospel music, but his efforts often faced setbacks. Record company technicians would mix his recordings differently than he wanted, changing the final product. This lack of control over his music made him feel angry and helpless. However, in late 1967, things started to look up for Elvis. He recorded 2 songs, Big Boss Man and Guitar Man, which brought him some joy. Even though the singles didn't top the charts, the recording sessions in Nashville reignited his passion for music. It was the first time in a while that he felt excited about making music again. Elvis was tired of being tied down to making movie soundtracks. A new opportunity came in 1968 when NBC proposed a TV special. For the first time in 7 years, Elvis would perform live in front of an audience. A young producer named Steve Binder wanted to show the real Elvis, the one who started the rock and roll revolution, not the movie star image. While the Colonel, Elvis's manager, was not involved in the initial planning, he saw the potential for a comeback. For Elvis, this was a big chance to shake off his old image and return to his roots as a rebel rocker. The TV special offered a chance to break free from the formula that had been limiting him. The special was based on a story from a Belgian play with a journey theme about success, corruption, and redemption. It combined production numbers with songs from an informal jam session. Elvis chose his original band members, Scotty Moore on guitar and DJ Fontana on drums, to join him. Elvis's new lean and fit appearance in a black leather suit made him look more like the rock and roll icon he was. Elvis was nervous about the performance, especially the informal talking parts. He worried about how the audience would react. But he pushed through his fears, using his charming personality to make the moments feel natural. He played with his image, making fun of his own traits, which won over the audience. During the performance, Elvis showcased his incredible talent. His voice was strong and full of energy as he sang hits like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, and All Shook Up. He moved with a confident, almost animal-like energy. Even when performing slower songs, his legs kept moving, showing his raw, unbridled passion for the music. In the rehearsals, Elvis surprised everyone by playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata on the piano. But when his band teased him about it, he felt embarrassed. Elvis was still cautious about exploring new, more sophisticated music, fearing ridicule. The special was recorded in a time of great change and sorrow. Martin Luther King Jr. had been killed in Memphis, a city close to Elvis's heart. This event made Elvis realize it was time to move beyond shallow songs. The show's final song, If I Can Dream, was written especially for Elvis. It spoke of freedom and equality, echoing Martin Luther King's famous speech. This performance marked a turning point for Elvis, as he began to sing from the heart and embrace a more meaningful form of expression. In December 1968, Elvis Presley surprised everyone with a show on NBC that felt like he had come back to life. People were talking about war, protests, and sad news, but Elvis's return was like a breath of fresh air. The New York Times, which had once said his 1956 show was vulgar, now said he was charismatic. His song If I Can Dream became very popular, showing how Elvis could adapt. In early 1969, Elvis went back to his home studio in Memphis, a place known for soul music. Here, he was around musicians who pushed him to try new things. Working with Chips Moman and Felton Jarvis, Elvis created some of his best work. Songs like Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto showed a new depth in his music. These songs were a mix of old and new, blending country, gospel, soul, and blues. Elvis felt more free to express himself, bringing in sounds from his childhood, like the blues he heard in Mississippi. Elvis wanted to perform live again after the success of the comeback special. Colonel Parker, his manager, arranged for Elvis to have a long engagement in Las Vegas. This was seen as a way to build Elvis's reputation among the elite of show business. Las Vegas was a place where great performers went to prove themselves. Elvis was nervous but excited, knowing this was a chance to show he belonged among the top acts. The first time Elvis performed in Las Vegas in 1956, many people didn't like it. But this time, in July 1969, he was different. He had new music that appealed to grown-ups and a confident stage presence. Elvis put together a show that showcased all the music styles he loved. He opened to a crowd of celebrities in a fancy hotel, and it was clear he had them hooked from the start with blue suede shoes. Elvis's performance was electric. He moved with more style than before, his guitar now just a prop. He was funny, telling stories, and fully in the moment. The crowd was on their feet, captivated by his energy and charisma. For Elvis, it was like coming home. He showed everyone why he was a master performer. From that point on, Elvis was not just a returning star, but a legend, proving he could still dazzle and inspire audiences across America.